In a quiet town where the streets felt frozen in time and the same faces lingered year after year, stories traveled faster than the morning paper. And once a story took root, true or not, it became gospel. Everyone knew about the woman who lived in the little blue house by the old oak tree. Everyone had an opinion, and none of them were kind. "She's a single mom," they'd whisper behind cupped hands. "Probably made bad choices. Wouldn't be surprised if the kid has a different last name than his dad. You know how those types are." No one ever said it to her face, but the way they looked at her, like she was a stain that wouldn't wash out, said enough. At school pickup, she stood alone, her hands clenched tightly around the strap of her worn-out purse. The other moms huddled together, exchanging smiles, sharing coffee, laughing about weekend plans. But not with her. She wasn't invited. She wasn't welcome. At the grocery store, when she reached for the last carton of milk, people looked away. At the post office, the clerk's smile tightened just a little bit when it was her turn. At church, there was always one extra seat between her and the rest of the pew. And through it all, she kept her head down, eyes forward, heart guarded. The town judged her because they thought they knew her story. A reckless girl who made mistakes. A woman who couldn't keep a man. A burden on society. Someone who brought shame on herself. But what they didn't know, what they never bothered to ask, was the truth. They didn't know about the nights she spent crying on the bathroom floor, terrified she wasn't enough. They didn't see the sacrifices she made just to keep the lights on, the pantry stocked, and her boys smiling. They didn't understand the kind of strength it took to stand tall every single day, knowing every whisper, every sidelong glance was meant for her. And most of all, they didn't know that the little boy she loved more than anything wasn't even her biological child. He was a broken little soul, left behind by a tragedy too big for someone so small to carry alone. And she, with no obligation, no blood tie, no promise of future, had chosen to love him anyway, in a world quick to judge and slow to understand. Her love was a quiet kind of heroism no one ever talks about. Not yet, anyway. Because the truth, the real story behind the woman they all thought they knew, was about to come crashing into their perfect little world and leave them all in tears. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon when their worlds collided. The kind of rain that made the streets look like rivers and turned the sky into one endless gray sigh. Most people rushed indoors, umbrellas flipped inside out, heads ducked down, desperate to get away from the storm. But she stayed outside. Something tugged at her heart that day, something she couldn't explain. She had just left the grocery store, her bags heavier than usual, her wallet lighter than she liked. Her mind was busy, running through the endless list of things she needed to do, the bills she needed to pay, the problems she didn't know how to solve. And then she saw him, a small figure curled up against the side of the pharmacy, soaked to the bone, shivering, clutching a battered backpack like it was the only thing keeping him tethered to the world. He couldn't have been more than 5 or 6. Skinny, dirty, eyes far too old for his tiny face. People walked past him. Some glanced down and quickly looked away. Others didn't even see him at all. It was easier that way, wasn't it? If you didn't see, you didn't have to care. If you didn't ask, you didn't have to get involved. But she saw him, and she cared. And without a second thought, she stepped into the storm. She crouched down, her jeans soaking through instantly, the cold biting at her skin. "Hey, sweetheart," she said softly, her voice almost lost in the roar of the rain. "Are you okay?" The boy flinched at first, clutching his backpack tighter, his eyes wild with fear. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. She could see the story written all over him. The hunger, the heartbreak, the terror of trusting a world that already let him down so badly. Slowly, carefully, she offered him a smile. Not the fake kind people wear when they don't mean it. A real one, warm, patient, safe. "I'm not going to hurt you," she said. "Promise." It wasn't magic. It didn't happen instantly. But after what felt like forever, the boy loosened his grip just a little. His small fingers uncurled enough to take her hand. And in that moment, that tiny, trembling moment, something shifted inside her. A door she hadn't even known was there swung wide open. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his story. She didn't know what kind of battles they would face. All she knew was that no child should ever look that lost, that alone, that heartbroken. And if no one else was willing to be there for him, she would be, right then and there, under the gray sky and the pouring rain. She made a silent vow to love him, to fight for him, to be the person he could finally trust. It wasn't fate. It wasn't coincidence. It was the kind of miracle you don't recognize until long after it saves you. The shelter wasn't much. Cracked walls, flickering lights, a thin mattress that smelled faintly of bleach and sorrow, but it was better than the streets. It was a start. She sat beside him, their dinner tray untouched, chicken nuggets and canned peaches. He just stared at the food like it was something from another planet. "Take your time, sweetheart," she said gently. "No rush." He didn't say anything. He just picked at the frayed edge of his sleeve, eyes locked on some invisible point beyond the room. The social worker had warned her. He's been through a lot. Don't expect him to open up right away. But she wasn't here for easy. She was here for real. And real sometimes meant sitting in heavy silence, holding space for a broken soul to find the courage to speak. Hours passed. The night deepened. Rain drummed against the thin roof like a steady heartbeat. Finally, in a voice so small she almost missed it, he whispered, "They're gone." Her heart clenched. She leaned in, careful, like approaching a wild bird you don't want to scare off. "Who, baby?" "My mom. My dad." He blinked hard, like he was trying to push back the memory. "The car, it was loud. And then nothing." She swallowed, the lump in her throat threatening to choke her. He told her, in broken little pieces, about the accident, about the flashing lights, about the way no one would explain why his parents weren't waking up, about the strange houses, the cold adults, the way everyone always seemed too busy, too tired, too full of their own sadness to deal with one more broken-hearted kid. He ran away after the 5th foster home. He ran because the world didn't feel safe. Because sometimes it's less terrifying to be alone than to hope for love and be let down all over again. Tears slid silently down her cheeks as she listened. She didn't try to fix it, didn't offer hollow promises or cheap platitudes. She just stayed. She let him see that even when his story was messy, even when it hurt, someone was willing to stay. That night, he fell asleep sitting up, head leaning against her arm, his little hand wrapped tightly around her jacket. And somewhere in the darkest corners of his battered heart, a tiny ember sparked to life. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't as alone as he thought. The decision wasn't made in a grand moment. It wasn't fireworks or some epiphany at midnight. It was quieter than that. It happened when she noticed how he flinched whenever someone raised their voice. It happened when she saw how he carefully hoarded pieces of bread in his pocket, as if food might disappear again. It happened in all the little ways he tried not to hope and failed. One morning, while she was folding donated clothes in the back room, she found a tiny drawing tucked into her bag. It was rough, messy, made with stubby crayons, but she knew exactly what it was. A stick figure of her, holding hands with a smaller stick figure, wearing a baseball cap. Underneath, in shaky letters, it read, "Thank you for not leaving." She sat down hard on the floor, clutching the paper like it was a priceless treasure. The tears came fast and hot. She didn't need time to think about it. Her heart had already decided. When she walked into the social worker's office later that day, she spoke without hesitation. "I want to foster him," she said. "No, I want to adopt him." The social worker raised an eyebrow, skepticism all over her face. "Are you sure? It's a lot. Trauma like his, it doesn't just go away. It's messy. It's hard." She nodded. "I know, but he's worth it." Paperwork was filed. Home visits were scheduled. Background checks, interviews, training classes. 1,000 little hoops she jumped through without a second thought. She wasn't perfect. She wasn't rich or famous or extraordinary. She was just someone who refused to give up on a kid who had already lost too much. And maybe that was exactly what he needed. The day they told him, he didn't say anything at first, just stared at her, eyes wide, like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You mean, I get to stay?" he whispered. She knelt down, smiling through the tears. "Forever, baby. You're home now." For the first time since she met him, he smiled. A real smile. Small and shy, but real. And in that smile, she saw every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt and fear. It was all worth it, because she hadn't just saved him. Becoming a mother was never easy, too, but becoming a foster mother, now that was a whole different ball game. She'd always imagined motherhood as something you could prepare for, like reading books, taking classes, watching videos. She thought she could handle the sleepless nights, the tantrums, the teething, the messes. But nothing could have prepared her for the raw, unfiltered pain that came with being a mother to a child who had been through trauma. It wasn't about bedtime stories or teaching him how to ride a bike. It was about sitting up at 2 a.m. while he trembled in his sleep, haunted by nightmares. It was about comforting him when he flinched at the smallest sound. It was about watching him slowly learn to trust again, piece by fragile piece. She had no manual for this, no step-by-step guide on how to heal a broken heart. In the early days, she'd sit on the couch, staring at the wall, trying to figure out how to fix him. She thought there was a magic answer, some kind of secret formula that would make everything better. But the truth was, healing doesn't work like that. It's not a straight line. Some days he would laugh and run around the house, his eyes lighting up with joy like any other kid. Other days, he would pull away, his face a mask of silence, unable or unwilling to share what was hurting inside. And then there were the moments that broke her heart, when he asked in a soft voice, "Why did my mommy want me?" Or when he pulled away from a hug, too scared to let anyone close. She wanted to shield him from all the hurt. She wanted to tell him everything would be okay. But the truth was, she couldn't promise him that. What she could offer was something better. A choice. A choice to give him a life, a family, a home, to show him what it meant to belong. There were days when the weight of it all felt unbearable. She wasn't just his mother. She was a protector, his healer, his anchor. She had to learn to navigate his grief while dealing with her own emotions, too. And yet, despite all the setbacks, despite the doubts, despite the darkness, they found their way. Not in a straight line, but through the messy, beautiful chaos of life. They found their rhythm. He learned to trust. He learned to love. And most importantly, he learned that even though life had taken so much from him, she would never be one of the things to leave. She would always stay. And that was something no book or video could teach her. It was something they built together, every day, in the small moments and the quiet victories. The thing about being a foster mother is that no one ever sees the sacrifices you make. No one notices the long nights spent comforting a child who can't find peace, the endless hours spent on school projects and doctor visits, the way you quietly carried away his pain like a second skin. It's the sacrifices no one talks about, the moments where you smile and tell him, "It's okay, I'm here," even though inside your heart is breaking for him. The times when you wipe away his tears and pretend like you're not hurting too. It's the quiet patience you have to summon each time he doesn't respond to your love in the way you hope. You see, love for a child who has been through trauma isn't always returned in the way we expect. It's not the "I love yous" or the big hugs. It's not the thank yous or the gifts. It's the tiny, fleeting moments where he lets you in, even for just a second. And those moments, they make it all worth it. But the world doesn't always see those moments. People don't see the sleepless nights or the quiet moments of despair when you think, "I can't do this anymore." They don't see the way you cry when he's asleep, feeling like you failed him in some way, wondering if he'll ever feel truly loved, truly home. Yet, in those moments of doubt, you remember why you're doing this. Because he needs you, and because, despite the struggles, despite the pain, there's something more powerful than all of that: love. And love means showing up even when you're exhausted. It means being the safe place when the world feels scary. It means fighting for him when it feels like everything else is falling apart. But here's the truth. No one tells you that this kind of love doesn't always come with praise or recognition. No one will come to you and say, "Thank you for what you're doing." There will be no applause, no gold stars. In fact, sometimes you'll feel invisible. like your efforts don't matter because they don't come with instant rewards. But that's the thing about true love. It isn't about recognition. It isn't about getting something back. It's about giving and giving and giving. It's about being there, even when you feel like you're running on empty. And as time goes on, something incredible happens. He starts to see you. He starts to understand that even if he didn't ask for this life, you chose him. He starts to see that you're not just a temporary figure. You're his forever. In the quietest of moments, when he looks at you and says, I love you, it's not just words. It's everything you've worked for, and it's more than enough. When people talk about fostering a child, they often focus on logistics, the daily routines, the meals, the schoolwork, and the constant chaos of a home filled with young energy. But what they don't talk about enough is the internal struggle that comes with loving a child who has been through unimaginable pain. The hardest part of fostering, the part that no one tells you about, isn't the challenges of caring for a child. It's learning how to love them. You see, when a child has experienced loss, neglect, or trauma, it changes the way they connect with the world. It makes them wary. It makes them question everything. And, unfortunately, that includes questioning you. They've been hurt before, and now, in the quiet corners of their heart, they wonder, are you really going to stay? And for you, the foster parent, this is where the real battle begins. Because you have to give love without knowing if it will be returned. You have to show up every day, even on the days when it feels like you're invisible to them. You have to be patient when they push you away, even though all you want to do is pull them close and assure them that it will be okay. It's hard. It's heartbreaking. But it's also where the true power of love lies. Learning how to love someone who doesn't know how to love themselves, yet is an act of incredible strength. And the thing is, love isn't always a warm hug or sweet words. Sometimes love is showing up when they're angry, when they're sad, when they don't want anything to do with you. Love is putting in the work, even when they don't seem to appreciate it. It's choosing to believe in them, even when they don't believe in themselves. For the foster child, the process of learning to trust again is slow and painful. But for you as their caretaker, it requires something just as difficult. Patience. You may not see it every day, but little by little, they'll start to let their guard down. And one day, they'll surprise you with a hug, a kind word, or a simple thank you. And it will feel like the most rewarding moment of your life. The love you give to a child who has been through trauma isn't a love that expects anything in return. It's a love that's unconditional, constant, and full of grace. It's a kind of love that says, I'm here, no matter what, even when they push you away. It's the love that endures, that waits patiently for the day when they finally feel safe enough to say, I love you too. That's what makes foster parenting so powerful. It's not the rewards or recognition. It's the transformation that happens, not just in the child, but in you. Because when you learn how to love them, you become the person you were always meant to be. Someone who believes in healing. Someone who believes that when we think of fostering or adopting, we often focus on the impact it has on the child. And yes, the transformation in the child's life is immense. But what often gets overlooked is a profound transformation that happens within the foster parent. In this case, the mother. Fostering a child isn't just about providing a roof over their head and food on the table. It's about something deeper. It's about learning how to become a different version of yourself, a better version. You see, when you open your heart to a child in need, you're forced to reevaluate everything you thought you knew about love, patience, sacrifice, and family. You begin to see the world through their eyes. The pain, the fear, the uncertainty. These things aren't just abstract concepts anymore. They become part of your daily reality. The way you used to view your own struggles changes. You realize that the challenges you face now, as a mother to this child, are nothing compared to what they've gone through. Your perspective shifts. You stop sweating the small stuff. You learn to cherish the moments of peace, because you know how precious they really are. You become more forgiving, both of yourself and others. And most importantly, you realize that the things you thought defined you as a mother or as a person are only a small part of who you are. Fostering a child teaches you the power of resilience. It teaches you how to be stronger than you thought you were. And it teaches you that the love you give doesn't just change the life of the child. It changes you. You see, for this mother, the process of foster was never just about helping a child heal. It was about her healing, too. It was about her discovering depths of patience and compassion she never knew she had. It was about becoming the kind of woman who could face the toughest challenges with grace and still keep giving love, even when it seemed like it was never enough. The mother's journey is a story of growth. It's a story of shedding the old version of herself and becoming something new, something stronger, something more loving. Someone who understands that family isn't always defined by blood, and that sometimes the most profound connections are the ones that take time to form, but that last a lifetime. And in this journey, this mother becomes a beacon of hope, not just for the child she's fostering, but for everyone who witnesses her courage, her commitment, and her unconditional love. Because in the end, we all need to see examples of people who choose love, even when it's hard, people who keep going, even when the road is uncertain, and people who understand that the most beautiful transformations aren't always the ones that happen in others, but the ones that happen in us. One of the most beautiful things about being a foster parent is the way you experience love. It's not the kind of love that comes with expectations or even a need for justification. It's the kind of love that just is. And that's what makes it so powerful. When this mother first took in a child, it wasn't because she was trying to prove something or because it was a grand plan. She simply opened her heart. And that's the thing about unconditional love. It doesn't require a reason, a trigger, or even an explanation. It just flows naturally, effortlessly. Over time, she began to realize that every smile, every small step forward, every moment of laughter meant more than anything she had ever expected. It was a confirmation that her decision to love this child, despite the challenges and uncertainties, was one of the best choices she had ever made. There's something incredibly beautiful about love that doesn't come with conditions. This kind of love doesn't ask for perfection. It doesn't require the child be grateful, to repay her, or to earn her affection. It's pure and untainted by anything other than a heart's capacity to give. Think about it. In most relationships, we're taught to love when we feel loved in return or when someone meets our needs. But with fostering, this dynamic flips. You love not because of what you'll get in return, but simply because you can. In this mother's journey, those moments of love, those small, simple, yet infinitely meaningful gestures, became the very foundation of the family she was building. It didn't matter that the child wasn't her biological child. What mattered was that they had something deeper, something unspoken, but incredibly strong, a bond built on pure love, care, and trust. And that love, over time, grew into something unbreakable. It wasn't just about the mother loving the child. It was about both of them learning to love each other in ways they never imagined. The child began to feel the safety and warmth they had been missing, and the mother began to see herself as protector, a guide, and a source of stability. As time went on, their love wasn't just about the milestones or achievements, but about the small, everyday moments. It was about holding hands during a scary night, sharing quiet meals together, or simply sitting side by side, knowing that neither of them were alone anymore. And isn't that what love truly is? It's the feeling of knowing that no matter what happens, you have someone beside you who will never leave. It's the quiet certainty that no matter the storms you face, you have a foundation that is strong enough to carry you through. This mother and child story is a beautiful testament to the fact that love doesn't have to come with any conditions or explanations. It simply exists because two people chose to open their hearts, chose to accept each other, and chose to stand by each other every single day. One of the most touching realizations in this journey is that fostering a child isn't just about changing their life. It's about changing the lives of everyone involved, especially the mother. What might seem like a simple act of kindness, of taking a child who needs love, ends up transforming both lives in ways no one could ever have predicted. This foster mother's life wasn't the same before she took in this child. In fact, before the child came into her home, she may have felt like something was missing. Maybe a void in her heart, a sense of longing that she couldn't quite understand. But once that little one entered her life, everything shifted. She found new purpose, new meaning. As the child grew, so did the mother. Each challenge, each moment of growth, taught her more about patience, resilience, and the power of unconditional love. There were times that she felt uncertain, unsure whether she was doing the right thing. But she never gave up. She understood that love, real love, isn't always easy. It's messy, it's complicated, but it's also the most rewarding thing a person can ever experience. In the beginning, she may have thought she was just offering a home to a child who had lost so much. But over time, she realized that it wasn't just a child who was healing. She, too, was healing. She was becoming the mother she had always hoped to be, not because of what she could give, but because of the strength she found in herself and in her love for this child. With every tear shed, every sleepless night, every difficult moment, this mother grew stronger. She learned how to forgive herself when things didn't go perfectly. She learned to celebrate the small victories, the quiet moments of connection that spoke louder than any words ever could. And through all of this, she became more than just a caregiver. She became a true parent. And here's the most beautiful part. While the world may see this child as the one who has been rescued in many ways, it's the mother who's been transformed the most. The love she has given freely has come back to her in ways she never expected. As the child learns and grows, so does the mother, and their bond becomes something unshakable. The child teaches the mother about resilience, about seeing the world through a different lens, and about the beauty of vulnerability. The mother teaches a child that no matter what happens, there's always someone who will love and protect them, no matter the circumstances. In the end, this story isn't just about a child finding a family. It's also about a mother finding her strength, her purpose, and her true capacity to love. It's a reminder that the act of giving, of opening your heart and home to someone else, can change your life in ways you never imagined. And sometimes, it's the ones we choose to love that end up teaching us the most about ourselves.